Hello, welcome. I have included in my website, InTheEnglishCorner.com, a lot of videos dealing with grammar, grammatical rules, spelling such as homonyms, how to improve language, as well as sentence errors like run-ons, comma splices, etc. This video is going to deal with sentences, but how to improve your writing by including more effective sentences when you do write. So take a look with me at ways to improve your style of writing. Now, your style of writing is extremely important because you want to leave a lasting impression on your reader. So what does style means? Well, style means that you are writing a polished piece of writing. Everybody has their own unique style that will leave a lasting impression. So you want your writing to be clear, to be concise, forceful, varied, and interesting as well. So here are some pointers on things that you can do, pointers of what to avoid in your writing and how to improve your all-round sentence structure and the way you impart your ideas to your reader. So I'll be looking at avoiding empty sentences, avoiding wordiness, avoiding awkward beginnings, using keywords at the beginning of sentences, using keywords at the ending of sentences to improve them, avoiding overloaded sentences, writing forceful, colorful sentences, omitting details that are not related, and lastly, how to avoid writing choppy sentences, sentences that don't run smoothly. So let's first look at how to avoid empty sentences. Now, I'd like you to remember that each sentence that you write must clearly convey your thoughts. And some sentences, they can be grammatically correct. There might not be anything grammatically wrong with them, but they may be lacking in ideas. I say they lack meat, they lack substance. These are called empty sentences, and in order to improve empty sentences, you do need to add facts, details, further ideas, maybe more adjectives, and so on. So I've given you some examples of empty sentences, and then I have rewritten the sentence to improve it. The first one, right here, this is an empty sentence. The fair was boring this year because nothing exciting was happening. Well, that sentence is telling you very little. You don't know why the fair was boring. So nothing exciting was happening, but can you be more specific? So I've improved the sentence by saying, the fair was boring this year since there were few displays, a handful of activities, and very little entertainment. So now I can identify with what you're saying in your sentence. Right? The second sentence, which is empty in my opinion, is, I must buy a new car because I need one. You need one. Why do you need one? Be more specific. So to improve the sentence, you might say, I must buy a new car because I need one to get to work and to pick my daughter up from her daycare program. So you can identify more with the reader when you have a little bit more of an explanation. Another thing, when you're writing, another pointer when you are writing sentences is to avoid wordiness. Try to choose each and every single one of your words very carefully. Wordiness refers to using more words than are necessary in your sentences. And when you're revising your work or proofreading, you want to eliminate unnecessary words. Otherwise, you're rambling on and on. So just choose words that are effective and to the point so that you're not becoming wordy. Here is an example of a wordy sentence. The first one, my ambition is to be a nurse because that is what I've always wanted to be for my whole life. Why not just improve the sentence and get to the point and say, I have always wanted to be a nurse. That's a much more effective sentence. The next wordy sentence, the old man collapsed and fell to the ground. Well, it's wordy because obviously if he collapse means you fall down, you fall over. So just simply say the old man collapsed. So sometimes people think, writers think that if you explain more, if you go into more depth, if you're fancier, using too many adjectives and longer sentences, that your writing is improved, and that is not necessarily true. So just try to get to the point and be condensed, but add enough detail that your reader is interested and that you're capturing your main thoughts. Here's another pointer: avoid awkward beginnings. The easiest readable pattern of an English sentence is you start with the subject, then the verb, then the complement. But this pattern can be varied to suit the content and the mood of your writing, but be careful that the pattern you use doesn't make your writing awkward. So you don't always have to start with the subject, then the verb, because sometimes you're going to ask a question. You can shift the word order in your sentence. So I provided 2 sentences for you and corrected them. The first one's awkward. What I want is to find a new job. No need to start with what I want. Just get to the point. I want to find a new job, or I need a new job. So this one is improved. Here's an awkward sentence. The reason the house is dirty is because I had a party last night. You don't need to say the reason the house is dirty. Just say, take out the reason. The house is dirty because I had a party last night. To the point, clear, and a much more improved sentence. Another pointer to help you with writing good, clear sentences is to place keywords at the beginning of your sentences. So begin your sentences with important words, and by placing keywords at the beginning of the sentence, you're grabbing your reader's attention and their interest, and also you're making a connection. Your ideas are connected. Your new ideas are connected to the preceding ideas. Here's an example. The first one: Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau had a strong influence on Canadian politics in the 1970s. It's clear you're identifying who you're talking about, which was ex-Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and you're just clearly stating that he did have a strong influence in Canada, in the politics of Canada, and when in the 1970s. So start with his name, so right away you know what the sentence is about. Or in this example, obesity has become a serious health issue among North American young children. It's a very clear, concise sentence, and you're starting with your keyword. The keyword is obesity. You're probably analyzing in a paper, in a paragraph, in an essay, why obesity has become such a serious problem or issue in North America, especially among youth. Now, another method to change up your writing a little bit is you can write keywords at the end of sentences. So they can be at the beginning, but you can vary, change it up, and have them at the end. End your sentences with important words or phrases. A good ending to a sentence should have impact, and your final thought should leave your reader feeling satisfied and eager to continue reading and want to read more of your writing. Here is an example. It is clear that college is not only a place to have a good time, but it's also a place to grow both intellectually and emotionally. So you're ending with what's really important. That is the thrust of going to college. You want to grow intellectually, emotionally, so you purposely end with that thought. Or here's another example. Passengers should therefore refuse to ride in any vehicle driven by someone who has been drinking. So you're ending with the punchline. You don't want to be caught in the car with somebody who has been over drinking or who's been drinking. So you're ending with the thought. So that's another method to improve your sentences. Here's the 6th pointer, and that is to avoid overloaded sentences. Let's discuss what overloaded sentences are. An important guide to follow in your writing is to state your ideas clearly, directly, and just state one thing at a time. Don't overload a sentence with different thoughts. Each sentence should focus on one main thought. So a sentence becomes overloaded if you're trying to say too much. It can turn into a run-on sentence, and there is a video in InTheEnglishCorner.com on run-ons and comma splices and how to avoid them if you would like to check that video. So you always put a period after each complete thought. There are different ways of joining ideas as well, but that's the most simple, is putting a period and starting a capital. Make sure that you drop irrelevant details within a sentence, and if you're not able to drop any details, then make sure that your sentence is complete, or you could always turn it into 2 sentences. So I've given you an example of an overloaded sentence here. The first one, if you do not drink enough water, your body can become dehydrated, and drinking plenty of water is good for your skin and flushes out your kidneys. You've repeated drinking enough water, drinking plenty of water. It's overloaded. You're saying way too much and you're being rather repetitive. To improve it, I would have said drinking plenty of water, and say what it does. It hydrates your body, it cleanses your complexion, and it flushes out your kidneys. To the point. This one's rambling on. It's overloaded. You're saying way too much, and it's confusing. It's really is mind-boggling when you read sentences like that, especially if there are quite a few of them within one piece of writing. Here's another overloaded sentence. Let's look at it together. I was born in Kelowna, British Columbia, and I'm the daughter of a university professor, and my mother was a high school teacher, and this is a comma splice. You're joining two ideas with a comma. We moved back to Toronto where my father was born, for he was offered a job there, and I then went to the University of Toronto to get my Master's of Education. And it's so overloaded, you're saying so many things that you need to separate your thoughts and put a period after each complete idea without really omitting any of the key thoughts. So let's look at how I've improved it. I was born in Kelowna, British Columbia. Period. Okay, let's move on. My father is a university professor and my mother is a high school teacher. Period. New idea. My father was offered a job in the city of Toronto, his place of birth. I decided I would remain in Toronto and study for my Master's of Education at the University of Toronto. So there's a lot going on in that sentence, but when you put periods and start with new thoughts and new ideas, it really does improve the quality of your sentence. And here's a seventh method of improving the way you write sentences. You should write forceful, colorful sentences. So use clear, specific, and suggestive words. Your readers should be able to clearly picture what you're saying. Your details should be sharp so that I can almost picture what you're saying, what you're trying to convey. And using adjectives, adverbs, anything that will add detail to your writing. Let's look at some examples here. The first sentence is not forceful. Christmas dinner at Aunt Barbie's was really good. What does good mean? How was it good? It's meaningless. I don't know what you mean by it was good. So more forceful, more descriptive. Christmas dinner at Aunt Barbie's was memorable as she served, and now you're saying perfectly cooked turkey, scrumptious sage stuffing, smooth and creamy mashed potatoes, and delicious pumpkin pie with whipped cream. That description almost makes your mouth water. It makes you hungry. You feel like you could almost picture the setting, the Christmas dinner setting. Whereas this first sentence, it's boring. It adds no force or depth to your writing. Here's another one. His essay was poor. What does that mean? How was it poor? What wasn't good about it? So, much more forceful would be, his essay lacked. And why was it poor? It lacked a clear introduction, it was missing relevant details, and it was full of major grammatical errors. So when I give a student a paper back after I've marked it, I don't like just to put good or weak. I always say, why is it good? Your introduction was clear. Your details are specific. Your conclusion, and I would describe what I liked and I disliked without just saying this is good. It's a good piece of writing. What makes it good? You like feedback. So it's the same with when you're writing sentences. People want to picture what you're saying and feel like they understand you and are connecting with you. An eighth pointer is to omit unrelated details. So an unrelated detail in a sentence interrupts the flow of thought. So I'm moving along, I understand what you're saying. All of a sudden you throw in a detail that doesn't belong. It interrupts my flow of thought. They can be distracting, unrelated details, so be sure to stick to the main idea in each sentence and don't change ideas or topics within a sentence. And make sure that you omit any detail that is not closely related to your main idea. So every sentence should be clear and all your ideas should flow and relate to one main thought. So here is a sample of unrelated details in a sentence. Follow with me. Living in a dorm at college is economical, and that's a comma splice. Too many ideas, you can't join ideas with a comma. It allows you to make many new friends, as my cousin Sheila did, and it saves you time so you could spend more time studying and going to the library. Excuse me. Saying that your cousin Sheila, that she made a lot of new friends, it's really irrelevant giving a personal example right now. You could talk more personally after. Revise would be, living in a dorm while at college is not only economical, but it's great for your social life. and then a new idea. It also provides time-saving services so you can focus on going to the library and studying. So now all the thoughts in here, now that it's revised, they're all related to the key idea of why living in a dorm while at college, like what are the good and bad points of living in a dorm at college. And that's what's been outlined very clearly in the revision. And in this example, this first one is unrelated details. At the fall fair, we saw pumpkin carving, arts and crafts, and hay rides, and they sold popcorn, candy apples, maple syrup, and pancake and pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. That's a lot of ideas in one sentence, so I think to improve it and revise it, you could say the fall fair featured pumpkin carving, arts and crafts, and hay rides. So that's one thing. Those were the activities. Now in this next sentence, we'll talk about the food, because they're totally different activities that are going on at the fair and that are attracting people. The next is they also were selling goodies, including, and now this is all the food items, including popcorn, candy apples, maple syrup and pancakes, and pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. And the ninth, I believe, yes, and the final pointer I have to help you in writing good, clear, interesting, well-constructed sentences and adding variety to your writing is to avoid choppy sentences. This will also help your style of writing. In your effort to keep one main thought in a sentence, do not chop up single thoughts into several short sentences. So in your writing, you don't want to have a series of short sentences. He went to the store, period. He bought an apple, period. Then he went to the movies, period. It's choppy, it's not smooth, it doesn't add coherence to your writing. It's better to have a variety of sentence types rather than too many short ones. So what you would want to do is write short related thoughts and maybe join them into one sentence by using coordinating and subordinating words. And I have a video on both coordination and subordination, and you might want to check out my video on types of sentences. You should be writing in a variety of sentences. There are sentences called simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. And if you check that video on types of sentences, it tells you the different types of sentences that you can use to help improve your writing and add variety to your style of writing. So here's an example of a choppy sentence. Two of my friends were meeting me in Ottawa. We were going to the museum. We were going to the Parliament buildings. We were going to the art gallery. We went to summer camp together. We were going to my house for dinner after. That's a series of simple sentences. It's very simplistic. It adds nothing to your style. We're going to the museum. We're going to the Parliament building. And very repetitive. We're going to the art gallery. We went to summer camp. We're going to my house. So this is a lot clearer, smoother, and not choppy. Two of my friends from summer camp came to see me in Ottawa. One idea. Next, we were going to visit the museum and join them, the art gallery, and the Parliament buildings. Period. And then what were you doing after? After this, we planned to have dinner at my house. So that's a much clearer, better constructed sentence, and you're no longer choppy in your writing. So those are 9 different ideas, pointers on how to improve your sentences by adding variety, omitting certain details, not writing overloaded sentences, not having choppy writing, and so on. So please review all these rules carefully and look the examples over again and try the practice questions. Again, every video has 3 sets of practice questions with normally about 5 questions in each practice set, and I also include answers. So see how you do on the practice questions, and let me know if you have any questions. I'm glad to be of assistance. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.